Hey everyone, welcome to this live stream. I am here with the Category A race of the Zwift Classics 2022, Race 1, the Apple Lap. I will first be covering the Category A race, and I'll stick with the A race until the finish, and then once the Category A riders finish, I'll swap over to B, and the same for C, D, and E. I'll try to catch all the finishes and provide commentary for the major attacks and breakaways, and especially the finishing sprint. Sit tight and enjoy the stream. We're starting in about 3 minutes, so I'm going to go silent for a bit now, but yeah, feel free to keep watching and see you soon. Those of you who are tuning into the live stream, please feel free to leave feedback or comments, and also please leave a like, subscribe to help support the channel. And any feedback is appreciated because this is my first time doing a stream like this. I have not really streamed with like a regular Zwift race with live commentary, but I hope to do that for this coming Zwift Classic series and for the next races coming after that. Category A race starts to roll in about 2 minutes, so yeah, just hang out and the action will be beginning soon. Okay, don't mind that. I was just hopping over to the other race to try to get some more riders to tune into the stream. So here we are, 30 seconds until the start, and I am looking at the start list right now. We have some very competitive riders in the Category A race. The number one ranked rider in this race is Adrian Alvarado. He also live streams on his channel, and he's extremely good at breakaways, and he is very good at sprinting too. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. So sit tight and enjoy the show. Okay, let me just fan view real quick. And we are off. Looks like B Lanier on the front here. Okay, so it looks like there's 51 riders in Category A. A pretty solid turnout for a Category A race. So this is definitely going to be an interesting race to watch. And yeah, let's see how this plays out. The bees are just about to hit the road in about 20 seconds, so we'll hop over to that race for a bit after this race starts to settle in, and yeah. Okay, we can see E-Pain has been on the front for quite a bit of time. He's doing close to 5 watts per kg, very strong, and he looks like he's a pretty high leveled rider and very experienced, running the S-Works Venge with the disc wheel set. Oh, and there we see High Will Davies just go right off the front. You can see that El Dido from Sign Racing Team is also up there in the front. Dido is doing around 6 watts per kg off the front. Let's give him a ride on here. And these two riders are getting a pretty solid gap. They now have 2 seconds on the lead group, and this is making the race a lot more interesting. Highwell coming up for a pull here. Okay, let's see just how big of a gap they actually have. You can see that that big mob over there is the lead group. They're doing around 6 watts per kick off the front. They've now got almost 4 seconds on the group. The group does not seem to be chasing, which is good for them, but if they get caught, they will have a lot less energy. But these are two very experienced and strong riders, so I think they may be able to pull it off. Because of the downhill, though, breakaways don't often work in New York because the group speed is just so much stronger on the downhills. So that is where these riders will be losing a lot of time. You can see here that their gap went down from 4 seconds to 2 seconds just from that downhill. Highwell's giving up on this attack, and he is dropping back to the main group. Dido continues to push on, but I presume that he will go back right now. Okay, you can see here that he has lowered his watts per kg, and you can see that Team Art just goes right off the front. Doesn't look like he's trying to attack. It's just like the draft effect after sweeping up some riders. That often happens. And we're going to hop over to the B race real quick. These two riders are now off the back, but they're just chilling. It's nothing serious. Not like they're dropped. They're just chilling. Okay, so hopping over to B race now. The B race is a lot larger. You can see 72 riders, and looking at the Zwift power ranks, there's some very strong riders here. You can see that I'm fan viewing Eric Schilling at Zwift Insider. I raced with him quite a bit, and he definitely has the potential to win this race. Very smart rider, as he's the owner of Zwift Insider. He knows pretty much everything about Zwift. So looking at the Zwift power stats, Sam Vijay from OTR is the #1 ranked rider, and he's got a sprint of around 14 watts per kg, and which is pretty standard for the top riders here. You can see one rider, Andrew George, has a FDP of 15.5 watts per kg. Something that sets A races aside from B races is that aside from the higher power, A races also feature a lot more attacks. In B races, you typically see the groups stay together and then surge quite a bit on the small climbs, but that's likely going to be the case for this one. Riders are still going to go hard on the climbs, but it's not going to be an all-out attack like what you would see in some of the A races. So you see here, as I said, the group is going to stick together a bit. If we were to see the A race right now, it would be a bit more strung out. But since B riders are all at different levels, where some of them are like elite riders, some are just intro to A riders, you are going to see a lot more stringing out and a lot more riders get dropped throughout the race. In the front here, you can see that these riders are pushing the pace. D. Manalo, very strong rider. I've raced with him quite a bit. And Eric Schilling hanging with these top 10 riders. And they are looking very strong. And you can see here on the mini-map that this is such a strung out race. And you can see here that there are riders. These riders are likely going to get dropped. So watch that and just see how this race plays out. You can see here nice group going there. Some of the riders caught back up on the descent, which is typical for these kinds of races. But you can see here that there is a large group off the back. See, if you can see here, the front group is now around 40 riders, whereas it was around 60 to 70 earlier. So right here you can see these riders are off the back. Chances of them catching up are pretty slim, but they can still do it if they really work together and they really put in the effort. Up front here, you can still see the same riders, Schilling and Robin Anderson, another very notable name. He is maybe the strongest sprinter in Category B. I've raced with him a ton, and he definitely has the potential to win this race. Okay, let's hop into the C races. Let me just find a rider fan view real quick. I'll switch camera angles so it doesn't look all ugly there. Give me a moment here. Then after this, we will switch back to the A race, as it is probably getting pretty exciting in that race since they're already around 7 to 8 minutes in, so that is around a third of the race. Okay, this is the C race. You can see here already that the race is very strung out. There are lots of riders off the back, and there's a chase group right behind. They're going to catch because they just have a pretty strong group, and it is a descent, so the front group is not going to be pushing the pace. But they might be able to keep those riders away if they really keep the pressure high. And looking at the C Zwift power rankings, the number one rider is, let's see, let me refresh the page real quick. The number one rider is Daniel Lundberg from ESRT, a uprising team that is really focused on racing, and they've got mainly Swedish riders, but some American riders too. And he is the strongest rider with 12 watt per kg sprint and 3.1 watt per kg 20-minute power. You can see here that those riders did kind of catch, and right now it's just a big string, so the riders can still catch up off the back. If they do really put in a surge right now, they will be able to use a draft to slingshot themselves through the group and to the main group. We're going to head back to the A race real quick, and then we'll feature the D's for a bit after that. Let me just find fan view. Give me a moment here. Sorry for the inconvenience. And here we are with the Category A race. Doesn't look like any riders are really off the front. The group is down to 30 riders, whereas it was around 40 riders earlier. You can see a chase group right here. And up the road, you can see that the group is pretty close together. They've already covered 4.6 miles. They're going to finish this race in, I'm guessing, around 30 to 31 minutes, depending on how fast they go on the climbs, whether there are any attacks that they need to chase down at the end, and just how this race goes in general. Very tight bunch here. They all have a Zwift power rank of around 100, some of them less, and the best rider did not actually show up. So Adrian Alvarado is not actually in the race, but you can see that Hywell Davies is, and after refreshing the Zwift power page, I can see that he is actually the number one rider in this race, and he's also on Wahoo Lake Cole. They've got a pretty solid team up here with Fernando Diaz from Wahoo Lake Cole. They've got Christopher Anderson and Tommy Brown and Mafa Tarek. Those are all names that I have seen before in Zwift races, whether I'm racing or I'm just like watching races. I've definitely seen those names before, and they're all very strong riders. Okay, I'm going to go silent for a moment here. I just need to adjust something real quick, and I'll be back in like 30 seconds or so. Sorry for that bit of silence. For those of you just joining us, this is the Zwift Classics race, the Apple Lap. This is the first race of the series, and I will be covering this race every Monday. I might miss a week or two because I'm going on vacation, but other than that, it should be pretty consistent with the streaming. And I am just trying to find an AD rider to follow here so that I can watch the D race and I can show that all to you, provide some commentary. Okay. And we are in the D race now. So you can see here that I think these two riders are off the back. And this is the front here. Kreecha is number 1 right now. And you can see here that they have a pretty good group going of around 20, maybe 10 riders. Total of 23 showed up for this race. A solid turnout for a D race. And you can see here that these riders they are putting in their all to go up this short climb here. I don't expect that many attacks, but it is definitely possible because as you progress to the categories, there will be more and more attacks that are used. That's just because riders have a lot more power in reserve that they can use to really put in the power for these attacks. This group is mainly staying together, and I will be going back to the B race now, and then I'll be coming back to the A race for the finish, and yeah, stay tuned. Okay, we are going to hop back into the B race. Okay, so we're still seeing some of the same riders here. I'm waiting for this part to load here, and there are still around 30 to 40 riders in this main group. We've still got Robin Anderson with a Zwift power rank of 102, the best rider in this group here, I believe. And this race is looking pretty mellow for a Category B race, and I'm waiting to see if there are any attacks, but I don't think there will be. They are just coming around to the 6 mile mark, so yeah. Okay, now you can see that D Manalo is surging a bit. I'm not sure why, because it is a downhill. I mean, it is a viable attack place because riders aren't expecting it here because they know that there are no points available at the prime banner. Okay, this does look like an attack. He's doing around 6 to 7 watts per kig. This could be pretty dangerous if a few more riders join the attack. I think it is very possible that we see some more riders start to chase this rider, and in B races, riders actually chase a lot more than A races. A races, they kind of let the gap grow, and then they start to chase once the gap is around 20 to 30 seconds because they just like a more interesting race, versus B riders, they get very stressed when the gap starts to grow. You can see here that Jay Linkstavit, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that, but rider from ESRT, he's a very strong rider. I've raced with him before. He starts with power rank of around 140, and here you can see the group just comes back together. D Manalo just gets swept up along with the other riders in the attack, and the group is starting to come back together now. Most of the riders who are in the top 10 to 15 for this race are back into the group, and they are just about to finish their first lap. Sorry, not final lap. That would be pretty fast if they finish their final lap right now. But this will give you a glimpse at the finish of this race if you're looking to do this race later in the week or later today. I definitely will be racing later this week, so this is also helping me. So right here is where the climb starts. This is when you would start to see riders sprint, and then you really see the watts start to drop right here, and riders will immediately surge. You can see here that I believe that's Robin Anderson off the front here. He is putting an attack, doing around 6 to 7 watts per kig. You can look at that here. He's got a small gap, and most of the riders are still hanging on though, but he is going to tear this group apart. I think some of the riders know that he is a dangerous rider. Oh, but you can see here that now he is easing off a bit. I think he's called off the attack because it's really not worth it. I think he was just trying to see he could split the group a bit and kind of shrink the riders down so that it is an easier finishing sprint, even though he will likely win the finishing sprint with his 16 to 17 watt per kg sprint. He's still got a 2-second gap. The B-Rise are not chasing because they're just chilling. They know that he'll come back eventually, so they're really just letting him get reeled back slowly. Okay, he is back into the group, and you can see here that Lampeco from Fuji is off the front right now. Not really off the front, but giving the rest of the riders a pull, and it's bringing the pace up. It's making other riders hurt. It's probably not the best idea, though. We are going to hop back into the C race, give them some more coverage, and then after that, we'll be hanging with the A riders, and I believe until it finish. I'll decide that later. Let's see. Hopping back into the C race. Okay, we're back into the C race right now. Just waiting for the stats to load, and this is a pretty small group of around 20 riders, and there's another group 16, 17 seconds behind. I don't see them catching anytime soon, and if they do catch, it's going to be towards the end of the race, so those riders will likely not be candidates for the finishing sprint because they will be gassed from the chase. Oops. Okay. You can see here that, like the B riders, they're making their way towards the finish of the first lap. This is going to give them an idea of when they should start sprinting on the finishing lap and stuff like that. So we'll see if anyone tries any attacks here. I don't think anyone will, but it is definitely very possible. This is when the gradient starts to kick up, and it doesn't really get very steep until this next corner here, where the gradient kicks up to around 8 to 10 percent. See here on the elevation map, it is up to 8%, 9%, and then it starts to flatten out towards the top. Looks like no major attacks. You can see that the group is pretty much together. They're getting a bit strung out, but these riders are just chilling off the back. They're not really suffering, I guess. But you can see that they are one group again. One rider's doing an anvil right now. Probably not the best location to do it because it'll slow him down quite a bit. Because I believe it adds an extra 50 kilograms. And it is not a descent right now. The best time to use this is on one of the descents where it is a steep descent. That'll definitely help you. Okay, let me talk real quick about the power-ups in play for this race. This race has 3 power-ups. As you probably saw, the anvil is in play. And I believe, wait, let me pull this up real quick. The anvil is in play, the draft, and the feather. The most useful for the finish is going to be the feather power-up because it'll give you an extra watt per kick or 2 in the finishing sprint, and it is an uphill finish. See here, 2 riders from Team Vikings, I believe, is what TV stands for. And not actually television, but you get the point. Okay, so these riders have around a 1-second gap. This is interesting to see some tactics coming into play. I don't usually see this in C races, so it is great to see some tactics. Shout out to Team Vikings for putting this together, and it's making my job a lot more interesting. Okay, now we've got 3 riders. 1 rider from SST. I'm not quite sure what team that is, but I have seen that around. The group is now back together. It was worth a shot to try to separate the group, but right now we're going to hop back into the A race. Okay. The A race. Just point that up real quick. Sorry for the inconvenience. I don't have this whole streaming setup fully working yet, but I will have that ready in the next few weeks. Okay. Back together here. Whoa. Everyone is doing quite a bit of watts per kick. You can see that M. Gamst, a very strong rider, is off the back, 1 second behind. And Hywell Davies is coming through the group right now, and they've got a 3-second gap on this chase group off the back. Let's see if there's anyone off the front causing this pressure, but I think it is just the A riders trying to make each other hurt. It's a slight incline, so this is definitely expected with around 3% gradient. Those riders are off the back, and the front is doing around 5 to 6 watts per kg, keeping the pace hot, and this is going to be an interesting finish. They're 22 minutes in. They've got, I think, 4 miles left, so that'll probably take them around 8 to 10 minutes, I believe. And yeah, okay, let me respond to some of these comments that I've got from Rhino Racing. So, will I be covering the other classics races? Yes, I will. I don't think I'm doing any more today, but I might do one later this week. I'll decide that later. Depending on how much traffic this drives and how well this really does. But I know Zwift Community Live is covering the 11:10 a.m. PDT on Wednesdays, so you can tune into those live streams for that coverage. But I'm going to try to do every Monday at 9:10 a.m. PDT, but I will miss some weeks because of vacation. Yes, you are right about the anvil. It does add quite a bit of weight to your back. But okay. Yes, definitely a lot of places to throw that anvil away. When I get an anvil, it's actually quite useful for me, unless it is in the finishing sprint, because I am such a light rider that I really need the extra weight on the downhill to keep up with this group. Speaking of which, I will be doing a Road to Category A race YouTube series where I will be doing Category A races. I will be doing one every week, and then I will report back on a weekly video that will release on Saturdays. So check out that video. Please like, subscribe, and enjoy that. So we're here with the A race again, and they're 11.5 miles in. They've now got only 3 miles left. They're going at an extremely quick pace, and you can see here that the riders on the front are pretty much chilling because it is a slight descent. They're doing around 33, 34 miles per hour on this downhill. Most riders are just doing around 1 to 2 watts per kg, then super tucking once they get to speed. So this next section here is where I will probably use my anvil because it is a long and steady descent. So right here is where I would drop my anvil. Negative 4% gradient, that'll get you up to super tucking speed, which will benefit you a lot, so you don't actually have to pedal during this descent. Okay. See, you can see here that the descent is still going. We don't see any riders putting on their power-ups, so they've probably got drafts or feathers because these are very experienced riders, so they're probably saving their power-ups for the finishing sprint where they will need it the most. There's 2.6 miles until that, and okay, I will going to hop into the D race again pretty quick, give them a bit more coverage. Oh, wait. We see one rider going off the front right now. I'll be back to the D race right after I cover this. But you can see here that M. Gamst, he actually caught up from behind and went right through this group. He was off the back earlier. I mentioned that he was a very strong rider. You can see this all coming to play right now. 8 watts per kg right now. He is going crazy. He is really going for this right now. He might have a few teammates that he's trying to set up for the win. I'm not sure, though. I don't see those teammates right now. And the A category riders are worried about this attack. You can see that their numbers are up to 7 to 8 watts per kg. LG Doe, a very strong rider, is also chasing. He's a very gutsy rider. He will follow these attacks and try to make them stick. But you can see here that I think they are going to call off the attack. The group is now back together, but that was a very strong attack by BL13. They're a very strategical team. If you saw the Zwift Community Live video about their amazing attack at Legion of LA Crit. Okay. Just need to find the rider that I was fanboying earlier. Okay. Give me a second here. And we are back with the D race. Let's see here. There is No attacks going on right now. They're 8.6 miles away through the race. They've got 6 miles left in the race. You can see here that they've got a pretty solid group of around 7 riders. It's a nice lead group going, and they are doing pretty well. You can see here that they're doing around 26 miles per hour. Slight incline. The riders in the front are doing around 2.7 to 3 watts per kg. Very strong for a D race. And I'll be back with this race right after I finish covering the C race. I'm not sure there are any riders in the E category pen. I might be featuring them later, but we'll see about that in a bit. First, I need to go back to the A race where they are approaching the finish. Okay, back into the A race now. This is the category A race finish. For those of you just tuning in, this is the Zwift Classics, the Apple app. This is the first race of the series, so people are going to be going for points here. This is probably going to be one of the bigger races in the series. And whoa, sorry, I'll get back to that later. But there are some attacks flying here. Riders are definitely getting anxious here. 600 watts, but he's not using a heart rate, which is very surprising since he is a top A category rider. The other riders are offering heart rate, so he could get a DQ in Zwift Power later on. M. Gamps using his anvil, slowing them down quite a bit, but right here is where it'll really pay off. We're coming into the finishing stretch here, so get ready for some exciting attacks. Actually, I don't think there are going to be any more attacks. Since this is the finishing stretch, riders are going to be focusing on just hitting their peak power on the slight incline, where it'll really matter. I think we can see some A riders try to go early, and I'll definitely be covering that. All the riders with an anvil, they already use their anvil because it'll be extremely useless in the finishing sprint, but that definitely puts them at a disadvantage. The riders using the draft boost, I don't think that's such a wise idea because you are going to need that power up in the finishing sprint, as that is approaching in 0.6 miles, so you can see a lot of riders doing that. I don't think that's the best idea. Okay, M. Gamps off the front again, and Ella Chance, 16 watts per kick. He is going crazy right now. And oh my gosh, 19 watts per kick from M. Baston. FFZ, this is the finish, and he is going to take this win by a mile. F. Diaz is coming right behind him. He doesn't quite pull off the third place, but okay. Wahoo Lake Cole gets second and third. The other Wahoo Lake Cole rider, Hywell Davies, not far behind, but that is an extremely fast race, finishing at around 29 minutes. And okay, we're going to hop into the B race right after this. Okay, looks like it just switched that randomly. Pulling up B race because they're about to approach the finish right now. They're at 13.2 miles. They've got 1.4 until they hit the finish, and they're coming at a pretty quick speed. Watching Zwift Insider right now. Very strong rider. He has potential for this win, and they're going to go through the sprint banner here, so I'm going to go into camera view 0 to try to see which riders use their power-ups, whether they're using it wisely to try to get a better power-up, or whether they should have actually saved it until the finishing sprint. Okay, again, you see Manalo off the front. He is doing yet another attack. He's also got a pretty strong sprint, but I'm not sure how long his sustained sprint is, how good his sustained sprint is, but I know he has a very strong peak power. Let's give some of these riders a ride on. They're all putting in an amazing effort. For the finish, I will be watching Robin Anderson, as my bet's on him winning this race. Extremely strong rider. I've raced him. He's absolutely crazy when it comes down to the finishing sprint. Okay, some riders using an anvil here. This is the right place to use anvil because there won't be a good place to use that later on in the race. So Yeah. Okay, so you can see here that a cryogen rider off the front. Oops, my bad. Okay, P Snakes, he is off the front. Mikkelsen is right behind him. Eric Schilling, Zwift Insider, is with a small group chasing him. And this is going to be an exciting finish. Okay, they start dropping their power-ups now. This is the finishing sprint. Okay, Snakes immediately caught. Manala's off the front. He might be able to pull this off, but I think Dodd from FFZ. Oh, and there's Robin Anderson coming right over the top here. Manalo third, FFZ rider second, and I believe the rest of the riders here are in the top 10. You guys can rewatch that finish by going back in the watch. So that was a great race by all these riders, and I'm going to be heading back to the C race now, give them some more coverage, and let's see how how each of these finishes differ from each other based off of their category. And let's see. Here we are, 12.7 miles left. We're in the C race right now. They've still got a bit to go, but they're going to be approaching the finishing, not the finishing sprint, but the final sprint, which is also the final opportunity to get power-ups. That power-ups are extremely crucial in this finishing sprint, so I'd be interested to see which riders use their power-ups, which riders don't get good power-ups, whether they can still win the race. My bet's on Daniel Lundberg from ESRT winning this race. I've raced with him a ton, and he normally wins the C category races. I've seen him win some B category races too, which is amazing considering he's a C rider. He's chilling right now at a heart rate of 130. I think that he has the potential to win this. This is not too hard for him, and he is in the perfect position right now to take that win. I'm going to get ready to go back to the D race for a bit, and then I'll come right back to the C race. So, hopping into the D race now. Let's see. The group has definitely shrunk. We've only got 5 riders now in this lead group, and we got the herd rider, we've got a vegan rider, and I'm not sure, these riders probably don't have a team, but this rider is putting out amazing power. He's doing over 3 watts per kg off the front. On the front, he is definitely making these other D riders hurt because most of them, some of them might not have the legs to do that because this is D, which is 1 to 2.4 watts per kg. So I wouldn't expect the other riders to be able to follow him if he does go off the front, but I think this rider might win this race. 3 watts per kg, it's amazing. 155 heart rate. But since heart rates are different for everyone, I'm not sure whether he's really trying on this or whether he is just cruising right now. I'm going to head back to the C race finish, and then we'll be back for the D race finish. Okay, here we are, 13.5 miles. They're just about to hit the sprint right now. You can see B Monty on the front, 4 to 5 watts per kg, and now SG is doing 5 to 6 watts per kg. He's easing off now. They've got a gap of around 1 second, and they're coming down to the sprint where they will get one more power up, I believe. Oh wait, no, they've already finished the sprint. Yeah, sprint was back there. My bad. And you can see some riders deploying anvils, draft boost. Draft boost is a bit too early right now to do a draft boost. I would probably wait a bit to do that. Oh, and we see G Bullock just go off the front here. He's trying to go for this, but I don't think it's going to work because he's just pulling the group behind him. So, strong ride and strong attack, over 400 watts, but I don't think it's going to be the attack to win this race. Right onto him. And, okay, coming into the finishing sprint here, let's see. They're going to make this left turn, and then the gradient is going to start to kick up after they go down this short descent. Turning on feather power, not quite the perfect time. And right now, you can see that turning on the draft boost, this is when riders should have turned on their draft boost. Right now, he's barely trying right now to hold on to these riders, and he's going to go right through these riders. 9 watts per kg right now on the front, 10 watts per kg, and the Art Rider's right on his wheel. Can Daniel pulled this off. Looks like he is going to walk away with this win. And the art rider just got passed by this rider. And okay, the art rider comes in third. Fourth is the cryogen rider or this rider. I'm not quite sure which one actually took the win there. Very close finish, an exciting finish from the C riders. Great job to all of them, and I'm going to head over to the D race now. Those of you who are looking to rewatch the finishes, you can just go back on the timeline to see the rest of the finishes. That'll allow you to see if you were racing this race, how you did, and what you could have done better. Sorry I can't do a replay feature. I haven't quite figured that very technical stuff out yet, but I will try to do that later on in the week so I can bring you guys better coverage for next week. Looks like this is the front group. It's Pit Glitch saying he's in fourth, but he's actually in first now. But, okay, now he's actually in fourth. This is working right now. D. Williams on the front. He's, okay, right onto all these riders. Very strong D riders. They're all sticking together right now. They are in four. They've got 4 riders, so one of them will not get a podium, but the other 3 will. This, you can see here, just by looking at the bikes, you can tell who is very experienced. So you can see that this herd rider has probably been on Zwift for a while or is a very avid rider with the S-Works Venge and running the disc wheel. Also, look at Radar. Rattler. He is he's got the Venge and the and he is running the DT Swiss Arc 62 wheels. Those are also solid wheel set, and I'm very interested to see how this finish plays off. I'm not quite sure who the strongest rider in this race is. Just gonna check that real quick. I'll be back in a minute. I'm not seeing any of these riders on the Zwift Power website, so I'm not sure if they aren't registered or it's just not showing them because the data hasn't been refreshed. They're at 13 miles right now, and I'm not quite sure if there are any riders in E, but I will check once this finishes. And this is looking to be a pretty good finish. 4 riders. I'm interested if one rider can pull off a breakaway. I think a breakaway is perfect to do when they're this little riders, and it's a great opportunity to try new things and stuff like that. This series in general is great for that because there are races every 2 hours. They're pretty much like Crit City races, but there's an actual league and it's a lot more competitive. So I think if you're looking to try something new, like try racing in a higher category, this is the perfect series to do so because you can pretty much do a different race every day, and you would get experience from each of them. You can do like one category higher one day and your regular category the other day. So that would be very fun to do, and I think I'm going to be doing that later on in the week. Today's my rest day though, so I'm not racing today, but I'll definitely be racing this series later on in the week. You can see that Leonard here, she is a very strong rider. She's currently off the front right now. She's got the off the map backwards cap, I love it, and the We Do kit. She's got the Cervelo S5 running the 404 wheel set, I believe, and she is making these other riders hurt. She's doing around 4 watts per kg, very strong, and she is right now on the front of this group, leading these riders to the finish. And you see Rattler is starting to put up a chase, and it'll be interesting to see how this finish works out. Okay, they're going down the descent right now towards the finish. They're about to finish this race. It'll be very cool to see if these riders do any attacks or anything like that. But I think they will stay together until the finishing sprint. That would probably be the best idea because it is very risky doing an attack on a downhill because you never know if it's going to work. And the group speed is a lot more powerful. Okay, 13.9 miles in. They've got 0.7 left. they're going to come up for this little bump here, and then they're going to go down a small descent. That'll lead them to the next ascent, which will lead them to the finishing banner, which is the New York lap banner. I personally love this finish because it's an uphill finish. It suits my rider type, and I've done this. I'll likely be racing this quite a bit because it seems like a pretty good route to race for a rider like me. Okay, coming down into the finishing sprint, going to change camera angles, try to give you all a better view of this finish. And here we are coming up the climb. D. Williams off the front now. He is going for it. Leonard is right behind him. Radler's behind him. And this is going to be a close finish. It looks like it's going to be Radler pulling this off. And D. Williams right behind him. Radler is going to take this win with D. Williams behind him. Oh, can Leonard pull this off? Oh, she comes right over the top of him and takes the second place. Nolis comes in fourth, and that is all I'm going to be covering for the D race. I'm going to check to see if there's any E riders left, but I'm not sure that there will be. Okay, let me just check this with Power Find Rider to fan view. I'm not sure if any of these riders are on Zwift Power because they will have to register, and if they are in E, they're probably not registered. I'll check for you all real quick though. Does not look like they are on Zwift Power, and I was not already following one of the riders. Oh, okay, I got one rider here. It looks like D. Cruz. I think he might be the only rider in the race. Looks like there are 4 that signed up, and none of them really turned out. None of them showed up to this race. But that's just the reality of E category racing because it is like just the intro to racing kind of category where it's the riders who have not raced at all in the past 60 days. They're forced into category E so that they can get some power stats on their profiles to, oh wait, so we have one other rider here, 8 minutes behind. Not really a fair race because these riders can be like pros that just have not raced in a really long time or ridden in a really long time. So not a fair race in my opinion. G. Cruz is going to walk away with this win, no problem. And this is going to be it for this live stream. If you enjoyed this stream, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It really helps support the channel and helps this channel be recommended to other people so that more people can see these videos, so that ultimately you riders can get more coverage and more people will see you guys show off your skills and win races and stuff like that. So I hope to see you all next week for the live stream, and that is going to be it for this video, or live stream, I guess. So thank you all for tuning in, and please do like, subscribe. See you all next time.